So now, in the conclusion section of the commentary, Khenpo Kunpal's commentary on the Gongchik, it says the virtuous ending conclusion. Then this section using reasoning to describe the main heirs, meaning who are the main people who should inherit, this spiritual legacy, these teachings from Gyalpa Jigten Sungkhan. So these words that you see in bold, that are in bolded font, they were in the original text, the original Vajra statements compiled by Gyalpa Jigten Sungkhan's nephew, Sherab Jungne. So these are words of Sherab Jungne that Khenpo Kunpal is expanding on, explaining. And so this is why some of these words are bolded, because they are in the original compilation of the Gongchik. In this world, a good father's sons acquire extensive ordinary wealth and possessions of food, clothes, precious things, jewels, and so forth, and also have strong knowledge of how to keep and increase these things. So he's saying, in the worldly context, right, the sons inherit the father's possessions, and also not only inherit the father's possessions, but also hopefully also learn how to keep and increase what they inherit. However, concerning this good father's it says, however, here, in this case, concerning this good father's most special precious objects that no other ordinary persons have, such as a wish-fulfilling jewel the father takes care of as his own heart. So now describing Jigten Sungkhan and what Jigten Sungkhan has given in the Gongchik. If a son does not even listen to what it is called, does not perceive or understand it, not to mention that he does not take care of it, then he is subject to great criticism. So those who are supposed to carry the legacy of Gyalpa Jigten Sungkhan, he's saying, maybe you and I, we don't feel this way, and also not our context. We weren't born into a family that are Drigung Kagyu practitioners for generations. Now the born part, right, when you hear this, you should remember, right, as Buddhists we believe that we are born carrying certain karmas, not random. So to be born in a family that for generations are Drigung Kagyu means you have a connection to Drigung Kagyu. So then you have to, especially that audience that this is talking about. Then, of course, in Sherab Jungne's time, he's speaking to his fellow disciples of their teacher. He says, so those of you who say, you are disciples of our teacher, you are sons, meaning like the successors. So these days, not just sons, of course, sons and daughters, the successors. So you, the successors of the Father, we need to take care, take interest in this inheritance. Continuing, this is because he, speaking of this negligent son, does not understand the father's cherished precious object. The meaning here is likewise that the matchless, unequaled, supreme Jigten Sungkhan, directly realized through valid cognition, through valid, clear understanding, these unique and uncommon Dharma teachings. So this is the uncommon Dharma teachings. That's why some classes back and every now and then I emphasize, for you to really kind of see the uniqueness of these teachings, don't be afraid to notice how the way Kyopa states things could be different from the general understanding that you and I are most familiar with. Even with the most big name teachers, you know, to notice that there is a difference is not to say, you know, oh, these big name teachers are wrong, Jigten Simgun is right, or Jigten Simgun is wrong, these big name teachers are right, but just to be able to see why Jigten Simgun emphasizes it, and what is our take-home lesson, as I like to say. What can we take from this that can help us overcome misunderstandings, wrong view? So, for example, I'll give one example. This idea that don't make a promise to keep a vow unless you can do it. Don't make a promise to keep some vow. Don't take a vow if you don't think you can do it. That's the general view. Because according to this general view, if you promise to do something, like to keep a vow, and then you cannot keep it, then at that point, you have created two negativities. One, breaking the vow, as in, say, not to steal. Now you have stolen, but on top of that, you have broken the promise you made not to steal. They say, now, two, you are going to stand trial for 2 counts. One for stealing, one for breaking the promise of not stealing. Kyopa Jigten Sumgön actually says, offers a different perspective. He says, in the first place, why did the Buddha teach us the practice of taking vows? Why did the Buddha teach us the practice of making promises? He says, if you already naturally and have purified, so to say, or naturally or have purified any and all capacity, desire, predisposition to steal, right? Then you don't even need to take the vow. You don't even need to make the promise. So, in fact, the Buddha taught this method of declaring a promise, like in front of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or declaring this promise in front of your preceptors, precisely because there's no guarantee yet that we are able to refrain from stealing. And so to reinforce our commitment to not steal anymore, we declare it to others, so that even us knowing that others know, we will take more care in not giving into our predisposed, perhaps we have a predisposition to stealing, you know. So he says, better to take the vow, better to make the promise and the commitment, so that when you do break that promise or that commitment and commit the non-virtue of stealing, the power of that promise that you have made, the power of that commitment that you have made, can serve as a reminder. So to remind is to be mindful, can serve as a device for mindfulness. What we translate as mindfulness, smriti in Sanskrit, literally means remembrance, to remember. So the practice, the tradition of taking vows is in fact a tradition of mindfulness, remembrance. So that when you create non-virtue, you go, oh, I actually made a promise. I actually made a public declaration, determination not to do this anymore. Oh, now I've done this. Then this, giving rise to this kind of regret or remorse, is one of the 4 powers needed for purifying negative karma. The 4 powers, the power of regret or remorse, followed by the power of resolve, the resolve not to so easily give in to unskillful actions, to negativity. Yeah, so this view is uncommon, because most would say, if you can't keep it, don't take it. Here, Gilbert is almost saying, precisely because you cannot keep it, therefore you should take this vow. Now, of course, he's not saying, in a hypocritical, disingenuous way, I'm going to take this vow because everybody is taking it, and I don't want people to know that I don't want to keep this vow, so I will go along and take this vow. Of course, no, he's not encouraging that, okay? Just to be clear, yeah? But he says, like, don't be deterred by, oh, I cannot keep this vow. No, I'm not going to take it. He says, then, then it's I'll give another example. Then that's like saying, oh, I don't know, I cannot, I cannot remember, so to say, to turn on the alarm when I leave my house. So I'm not going to install an alarm. I'm not going to remember to lock my house when I leave. So I'm just going to leave the door wide open from now on. Robbers will come even faster, At least you install the alarm. And then there's a sign out there that says, this house protected by, blah, blah, blah security system. So, of course, the best scenario is every time you leave your house, you remember to activate your house alarm. But even if you don't remember to activate, there is some protection there. Same thing with taking these vows. So this is the unique, one very important kind of unique view. So coming back to this, so the unequaled supreme Jigten Sumgen, directly realized through clear cognition, valid cognition, these unique, uncommon Dharma teachings, which not only do not in the slightest contradict the 3 vows, and do not in the slightest see any contradiction among the 3 sets of vows, the individual liberation vows, the individual liberation precepts, and the Bodhisattva vow, and the Tantric Samayas. No contradiction at all. The practices that are contained in the scriptures of the 3 or 4 collections of the Buddha's teachings, speaking of the Vinaya, the Sutra, the Abhidharma, and secret mantra, sometimes said to be 3, sometimes said to be 4. And so here said called the 3 collections, the 3 baskets, the 3 pitakas. Then sometimes people say 4 pitakas, secret mantra being the 4th. Jigten Sumgen actually on this issue, Jigten Sumgen says secret mantra is found in all 3 baskets, in the Vinaya basket, in the Abhidharma basket, in the Sutra basket. So he says, no need to talk about a 4th actually, because the secret mantra, in a way, is the underlying essence of all 3 baskets. But each increasingly higher level of the teachings also incorporates the qualities of all those below it. And the practice of the training of discipline is especially taught as most important. So the last part, so the 3 vows, in a way there is an increasingly more profound way of engaging on the path. Individual liberation, bodhisattva, secret mantra. These are the 3 vows. So here Khenpo Kunpal is saying that at each level of observing the vows, all the qualities from the previous level needs to be brought up, needs to be brought together, not left behind. You should not say, oh, I'm beyond individual liberation vow now. Now I have bodhisattva vow. So then those individual liberation vows I can leave behind. Or now I have the tantric samayas. Oh, I don't need this bodhisattva vow business. And definitely I don't need the individual liberation vows. It's not like that. But each increasingly higher level of the teachings should incorporate, bring with it the qualities of the previous level. Then, and this is something emphasized a lot by Kyopa, and the practice of the training of disciplined conduct is especially important for Kyopa. Disciplined conduct, observation of Shila, disciplined conduct is really important. Such teachings that are expressed with few words, but with profound topics and meaning, were previously unheard of for anyone in a clear way in the snowland of Tibet. So prior to Jigten Sumgön, it said that not so easily encountered. At later and later times in this world, Jigten Sumgön's Dharma heirs, who are disciples or followers, have not upheld these teachings through study and practice, but have slacked off. So they are similar to that above example. So they have become, Jigten Sumgön's followers have become like the negligent sons. First, don't even recognize the jewels, the wealth that their father have. So there is a saying Tibetan, abandoning your own gold because you're coveting other people's brass. They look kind of golden each, but to abandon the gold that you have because you covet other people's brass is really foolish. So they are similar to that above example of those negligent sons. So first, not recognizing the great inheritance they have. Then even if recognizing, instead of learning how to keep it and to increase it, we have squandered it away. We have spent, so to say, given them away. Since this is exceedingly more shameless than the example, they are subject to great criticism from the sublime ones. So it is said, nowadays there is no completely learned scholar anywhere. A jewel from the ocean is not marketable. For a greatly valuable crystal jewel, a cowherder says, I will give 3 handfuls of grain. Speaking of these confused times, degenerate times, when even a jewel, a wonderful jewel that is found in the deep ocean is brought to the market, nobody wants it. At most, a cowherder says, I will give you 3 handfuls of grain for that jewel. So people with knowledge, he's saying, even in Sherab Jungne writing in the 12th century, saying, we fail to recognize, people who have this knowledge and fail to appreciate them. Instead, we run after what's only worth 3 handfuls of grains. That precious jewel from the ocean. We think, that's nothing. That's just, something superficial. Because we're impressed by just appearances. Thus, for that reason, the holders of the familiar lineage of this supreme victorious one, meaning Jigten Sumgön, the disciple who are the heirs, the father's successors who maintain the tradition, should not leave it, should not leave this inheritance, and instead follow other traditions by pursuing and repeating as an echo their assertion that the 3 vows are contradictory. No one outright says the 3 vows are contradictory, but there are some who say that this level of vow supersedes what is found in this level, and this level supersedes what is found in this level. And so if you are at this level, you should ignore whatever contradiction you see issuing from this level and this level, because now you are at the higher level. Oh, you should take the higher level. That is how they say the 3 vows are contradictory. They will not outright say, oh, 3 vows are contradictory. Then you are saying the Buddha is contradictory. But they will say, oh, I'm at a higher level. So like the saying, even, like again, if you don't understand, right, you might say, well, Shantideva says, Shantideva says, for the sake of Bodhisattva vow, you can lie, you can steal. Because somewhere in there, Shantideva says, that the Bodhisattva vow is so amazing, so great, right? And then it gives the impression that the lower vows, not to kill, not to steal, not to lie, bodhisattvas can do if necessary. Jigten Sumgön is saying, that's the general view, but I can help you see a deeper way of relating to this so that it doesn't need to be thinking in terms of, do I keep my bodhisattva vow and ignore the precept of not stealing? Or do I keep the precept of not stealing and compromise by bodhisattva vow? Jigten Sumgön says, if you see a contradiction between these 2 actions, keeping your bodhisattva vow and not stealing, you're not understanding. You're not understanding both of the meaning of these vows. So here it says, you should not leave your inheritance, whereby Jigten Sumgön shows us how there's no contradiction at all. So one of the Vajra statements says, that which he has prescribed remains prescribed forever. That which he has proscribed remains proscribed forever. Meaning the Buddha doesn't change, doesn't say, oh, don't kill, don't harm, and then later, actually, it's okay. Now that you're more advanced, it's okay. No. That which is prescribed, such as generosity, such as patience, such as disciplined conduct, is always prescribed. That which is proscribed, the 10 non-virtues, always proscribed. Moreover, concerning other distorted lineages, since it is taught that the non-virtues based on religion and persons are very heavy, one should not criticize them. Here Khenpo Kunpal says, now if you see others, like following some other distorted lineage, even from your perspective distorted, but because when it comes to matters of dharma, religion, here called translated as religion, when it comes to matters of like training the heart, training the mind, and when it comes to people who are training their hearts, training their minds, right? He says we need to be very careful with what kind of karma we create in relation to these matters. So better not to criticize them. Here, maybe criticize is too literal, the translation. Maybe the word I feel that should be used here is don't judge them. Like, be able to see what is unique about your own inheritance, so to say. But don't go about saying, other people's inheritance are not good, other people's inheritance are rotten, No, leave that alone, he's saying. Sherab Junne is saying this, saying to his fellow disciples, you need to protect and keep and grow what you have inherited from our teacher, our common teacher. As for other people who have their teacher's inheritance, don't criticize them, don't judge them. Leave them to their own matters, because religious matters, dharma matters, and dharma people, the karma that we can potentially create when we do something negative towards that is very heavy. So don't go do that. Don't judge. So this, to give some context, this sentiment is quite common, That's why I think sometimes it has been frustrating. So let's take it to the real world, yeah. Sometimes it has, I get it why, sometimes it has been frustrating. Like in recent years, yeah, some of the bad behavior, misconduct of teachers in the Tibetan Buddhist world, even big name teachers, people have come out to say, that they have not behaved properly in this way or that way. And for that, some people believe, some people don't believe, some people say, yes, this is true. And then equally, people say, no, this is all false, slander, blah, 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 all of that. Right? Again, I have no wish to go into any of this to say this is true, this is not true, all of that, right? But the frustration some have expressed is that in cases where maybe you could say majority agree, that that teacher has not behaved properly, have misused their influence and power. So some people say, why is it that this person's colleagues, so to say, like other teachers, have not outed this person, as we would say, publicly condemned this person, or tell other people, oh, this person is not good, this way, that way. And it's part of the culture. I'm not saying it's a good culture or bad culture, but it comes from this emphasis that don't judge others. Don't judge others. Instead, focus on helping the people who come to you as much as you can, with sharing with them the Dharma, teaching them the Dharma, but don't judge other people. So this is part of why this, I'm not saying, not speaking out is definitely a good thing. What I'm trying to share with you is to have you understand why the reluctance to speak out is in part, not totally, that I'm sure there are other reasons. In part is when it comes to matters related to Dharma training, or more generally, when it comes to people's spiritual beliefs and faith and confidence in this system or that system, or even this teacher or that teacher, these are very delicate matters that unless, we have clear realizations to speak loosely or too eagerly, can result in heavy negativity. So not easy at all, Also, at the same time, to see the actions of some and how that has caused people to lose confidence in the Dharma, and to see those actions going on and to not say anything is also not the answer. What exactly is the answer? I don't know. Hard to kind of unentangle. Best thing, of course, is best case scenario is, of course, everyone have some kind of discernment, so that, other people don't need to step in and create, gossip. In some ways, it is gossip, as in, well, I don't know firsthand, I only know secondhand. So it comes from this, it comes from this type, not just this type of, with regards to what you are practicing, with regards to what you have received as your inheritance, don't squander it away. Don't exchange it for brass, other people's brass, when you have gold. Don't neglect what has been entrusted to you. Make sure to keep and to grow it. But at the same time, as for other people, what other people have, other people's inheritance, you should not criticize. You should not point out the weak points to them. Yourself, of course, when you study, to contrast the gold that you have from the brass that other people have, necessarily, you have to see. It's like, oh, you see, they see it in that way, but I don't. But don't take the next step and say, oh, now I need to go tell these other people, hey, what you have is just brass. What we have is gold. You want some of this gold? It says, don't do that. Because you don't know, And now we're not talking about, problems, other people, but more like you don't know karmically what level of understanding suits this person best. So don't go, rattle that cage. Including, don't go tell your, say, maybe all your relatives are Catholics or Christian, don't go tell them, oh, what you believe, it's actually not good. What I have found is better. No, don't do that. In fact, what you should do is encourage them if they are spiritually inclined, if they are religious. You should genuinely appreciate and encourage them. Encourage them. Of course, not encourage them if part of their religious practice is to condemn and criticize other people. That aspect you don't encourage, okay? So you look for the positive aspects in their tradition. So like a tremendous emphasis in Christianity on charitable, to be charitable, to be generous to others. So you praise them genuinely, not like, hypocritically praising. Genuinely praise them, genuinely encourage them, and support that and say, this is so good, this is so wonderful. So Buddha Shakyamuni said, whatever truth you see in other traditions, other religion, celebrate that, honor that, respect that. Yeah. Concerning the profound and vast Vajra statements, the decided viewpoints of the meaningfully renowned one, meaning Jigten Sumgen, who has the white flag of fame, sublime in the three realms, one should first determine them well for oneself through the discriminative wisdom of studying for a long time. And so now this is Khenpo Kunpal describing how, if you feel connection to these teachings, if you feel I am an heir to this inheritance, then first you have to determine them well for yourself through the wisdom of studying for a long time. So you learn, you keep learning, keep increasing knowledge on this material. Don't be lazy. Started with small commentary. Now try to read middle commentary. Now middle commentary, maybe finish. Try to look at large commentary. So try to determine for yourself. Then one should remove one's doubts well through the discriminative wisdom of contemplation. Now contemplation means, so you have studied, you have learned, and you have learned well, you have learned in a clear way. Then bring it to your, evaluate it and say, how does this work in my life? How does this work in this scenario, in this situation? So you consider that. That is called contemplation. And then actualize the meaning through the wisdom of meditation. Meditation, maybe a better word I like, is through cultivating these truths, cultivating these virtues within our own mind, actualizing them. Then take on the responsibility of the teaching's purpose and thereby uphold them with great persistence through study and practice. Those sublime ones who do this, whichever family, clan, material status they might have, they are the greatly wondrous and the objects of praises from the sublime persons with Dharma vision in all directions and times, who will say, Alalaho, which is a Tibetan exclamation of how great, how wonderful, Alalaho. They are the objects of veneration for all beings, including the gods, superior to others. Therefore, sublime persons study and practice according to the Dharma in terms of upholding, maintaining, and increasing the essence of the victorious one's precious teachings. The excellent path of the unity of sutra and mantra traditions. So Jigten Sumgen's teachings, fully integrate sutra and mantra. And I can say as a footnote, sometimes so fully integrated that you cannot even tell, wait, is this sutra or is this mantra? Because he doesn't like to emphasize too much. Oh, this belongs to sutra. Oh, this belongs to mantra. There are other traditions who make those distinctions very clear. But for Jigten Sumgun, you know, like even the title of Gongchik, right? Which of course was chosen by Sherab Jumne, but Sherab Jumne knows, you know, the heart of his uncle, the desire, the intention, the realization of his uncle. So he chose this text, the title of this text, single in the sense of unified. Yeah? Single in the sense of unified. Not single in the sense of one and only one, my way or the highway. Not that kind of one, okay? One in the sense of unified. So he says the unified intention, Gongchik, or the unified realization of all Buddhas. The non-contradictory, the unified, the holistic, the all-encompassing into one system of all Buddhas, past, present, and future. So just by the title of this collection, you can see Jigten Sumgun's overall style, which is to emphasize the holistic nature, the integrated nature of the 84,000 dharmas. On the other hand, there are some other traditions that emphasize the need to see clearly what distinguishes this from this, from this, from this, from this, from that. Now, some of us are more suited to that kind of approach. No doubt. I mean, just think about it, you know. In fact, some of you that I'm talking to now may feel that you're more suited to that way. What is the difference between this and this, and then between this and this, and between this and this? So very clearly distinguishing where the fault lines are. That's another approach. So there's another famous text, and this famous text was composed as an extended essay. So again, very different from Gongchik. Gongchik is Kyopa Jigten Sumgun never really planned, so to say, right, for these statements to be collected. Sherab Jumne collected them over time, compiled them, put them together, organized them into 7 chapters, right? But there's another famous text in the Tibetan Buddhist world, one generation after Jigten Sumgun, by one of Sherab Jumne's Dharma friends, which is one of the most important scholar in Tibetan Buddhism, the most kind of brilliant mind, and also great realization, who is called Sakya Pandita. Sakya Pandita is same generation as Sherab Jumne, and one of the most famous texts that he wrote is called perfectly delineating the 3 vows. Perfectly delineating, clearly distinguishing the 3 vows. Clearly discerning the 3 vows. So even the title there, right, shows a difference, emphasizing the importance of differences. And of course, he offers his way of how to deal with the differences. But I'm not teaching that text, so I'm not going to say more. You're interested, you should study that text and see their unique approach. So when studying their text, you know, you should not study it and to criticize it. You should study it to see the unique characteristics of that approach. Here, when you study Jigten Sumgun, then you have to appreciate the unique emphasis of this tradition. Okay, so the excellent path of the unity of sutra and mantra traditions by taking on the responsibility of benefiting others with completely pure benevolence. For example, among a great king's 1,000 sons, the prince who has the signs that have the power to show his nature as that of a universal king is superior to the other princes. Likewise, among all who engage in the teachings of sutra and mantra traditions separately, these sublime persons who practice them in unity have superior qualities. Thus, they appear clearly as gorgeous, as beautiful in this world. So, Khenpo Kunpal and Sherab Jungne has a preference. It says, those who practice sutra and mantra separately, they are like the 100 princes. But the one crown prince that will be king is the one that can integrate those two. So he's saying, do that. Yeah. So today we will stop here. Tomorrow, hopefully, we should be able to more or less, finish the conclusion section. Okay, now dedication. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me, the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers, and may all mothers, sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstruct us, who harm, those who create obstacles, maras who mislead, and their mara retinues have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I become a virtuous spiritual friend with good qualities limitless as space. May I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Okay, Tata.